So this is the part where we do our spiritual transition game. The spiritual transition game is played this way. You can play it in a group of people. It's actually a lot of fun in a group. You call someone out. You give them a topic to transition to. If you want to be nice, you just give them a spiritual transition, anything spiritually based. They can talk about the Bible or sanctification, anything. But if you really want to make it hard, make them transition to the gospel, and that's what I'm being asked to do, is to transition. Today's topic that I have to transition to is a newborn baby. To transition from a newborn baby to the gospel. The reason we do these things is to train ourselves to be able to transition from any conversation into a gospel conversation, so you no longer need to ask God to give you an opportunity to share the gospel, but you can create it as you practice this game. What you're going to see is that the way I may transition from a newborn baby to the gospel is not the way you would have thought of doing it, and therefore you should practice on your own and come up with your own way and find that there's a lot of different ways to do it. So if I'm going to transition from a newborn baby to the gospel, I actually think that's kind of neat, because when we look at a newborn baby, there's a couple things about a newborn baby. Now, have you ever seen a mother or a father and they're walking down a park or somewhere with a baby in a stroller? I mean, heads turn. Everyone loves to see a newborn baby. I mean, newborn babies are just the most adorable things. I mean, they're cute and you want to look at them. Everyone enjoys and loves looking at newborn babies. And we have a misconception, though, is because we have this idea that a newborn baby is innocent. You ever hear people talk about the innocence of a baby? And we understand what they mean, that they're innocent in a sense. They're innocent in that they have not committed major crimes yet, but they're not so innocent. You see, even when that baby cries out in a selfish act for milk, it's still selfish. And the reason is because every one of us, even a newborn baby, we hate to admit it, has a sin nature. And we may look at that child and think it's very cute. And I think the reason that God created children to be so adorable is because if you're a parent, there's sometimes when they're screaming and crying their heads off, you want to kill them. No, there's times where you just don't know what to do with that child. And actually, if that child was an adult, it would kill you. I like what Vodi Bakum says, that a newborn baby is a viper in a diaper. But the reality is we look at that newborn baby and we think it's innocent. There's a comparison there, because most people think that when they stand before God, they too will be innocent like a newborn baby. Even though they do things wrong, they think they're going to be okay. And yet when we compare ourselves to the law of God, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not murder, and you go, well, hey, I'm good on the last one. Not so quick. God says if we're even angry with someone in our heart, He judges that as murder of the heart. So when we look at that, we realize that when we compare ourselves to God's law, we're not as innocent as we thought. And that's important to understand, because until we see ourselves in a proper position before God, we are not going to understand that we need to get right with God by bowing our knee and trusting what Jesus Christ alone did on that cross. Not our works, not our good nature, because we don't have a good nature. But we have to trust what Jesus Christ alone did on that cross. Eternal God dying and paying an eternal fine for us. That's the good news. That's how I would transition from a newborn baby to the gospel. How would you go